Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's get into the story. My phone buzzed during the most important client presentation of my career. I was standing in the conference room on the 24th floor of Renaissance Tower in downtown Dallas, presenting a residential project to a client who could make or break my year. The vibration came from my pocket 3 times in rapid succession. Text messages from my wife. I ignored it, kept talking about sight lines and natural light. The client nodded along, but I could feel the weight of those messages pulling at my attention. When we broke for the client to review the renderings, I excused myself to the hallway. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Dallas skyline. It was 2:47 in the afternoon on a Tuesday in May. I pulled out my phone. The first message was simple: "We need to talk about us." The second was longer: "I've made a list of everything that's wrong with you as a husband. You have 8 days to prove you're worth keeping. Day 1 starts now. If you can't fix these issues, I'm done." The third was the list itself. 8 specific criticisms. "You've become boring and predictable. You never take me anywhere exciting anymore. You've let yourself go physically. You prioritize work over our marriage. You don't romance me like you used to. You never surprise me. You've lost your ambition. You're not the man I married." I stood there, staring at my phone, surrounded by the hum of downtown Dallas traffic 24 floors below. Christine knew I had this presentation today. She knew how important it was. And she'd chosen this exact moment to send me a performance review of our marriage via text message. I should have been panicked. Should have been running through mental calculations of what I could do to fix things, how I could make her happy, what romantic gesture might salvage this. That's what the old me would have done. The me who'd spent the last few years walking on eggshells, managing her moods, shrinking myself to fit into whatever space she deemed acceptable. But standing there in that corporate hallway, something clicked. If she was giving me 8 days to prove my worth to her, then she was also giving me 8 days to evaluate hers. The audacity of sending an ultimatum via text during my workday, treating our marriage like I was an employee under review, it was almost impressive. I typed back, "Interesting. I was just thinking the same thing about you. Let the 8-day evaluation begin." I hit send and put the phone away. Returned to the conference room. My colleague noticed immediately. "Everything okay?" "Better than it's been in a while," I said. And I meant it. The rest of the presentation was different. I was sharper, more decisive. When the client tried to negotiate down our fee, I didn't bend over backwards like usual. I stated our terms calmly and let them decide. They signed the contract 20 minutes later. Patricia Henderson, the senior partner who'd mentored me when I first joined the firm, pulled me aside afterward. "Whatever happened during that break, keep it up. That was the Garrett Sullivan I hired 5 years ago." I drove home that evening with a strange sense of lightness. The late afternoon sun cut through my windshield as I navigated the streets toward our house in Lakewood, the historic neighborhood where Christine and I had lived for the past 3 years. It was a 1940s Tudor-style house that I'd renovated myself back when I still had time for projects I cared about. I made a stop on the way, the REI on Northwest Highway. Bought new running shoes and workout gear. I hadn't been to a gym in 18 months. Christine always said I was obsessed with exercise, that I neglected her when I got into my running phases. So I'd stopped. Just like I'd stopped rock climbing because she said it was too dangerous. Just like I'd put away my guitar in the garage because she complained about the noise. When I finally pulled into our driveway at 7:30, she was waiting in the living room, arms crossed. The serious expression she wore when she wanted to have a talk. "You're late," she said. "And you didn't text." I set down my REI bag. I was working, then shopping. Shopping for what? Running shoes. "I'm starting back tomorrow." Her eyes narrowed. "You don't have time to run. You barely have time for us as it is." "That's on your list, right?" I said, loosening my tie. "That I've let myself go? I'm addressing it." She blinked. This wasn't the script she'd expected. "That's not what I meant. We need to talk about my text." "We are talking about it." I sat down across from her, maintaining eye contact. "You gave me a performance review. I'm implementing changes. Just not necessarily the ones you expected. You're supposed to be taking this seriously." "I am. Very seriously. The question is whether you're ready for the same level of evaluation." Christine stood up abruptly. "This isn't a joke, Garrett." "I know it's not. You made that clear when you sent an ultimatum to your husband via text message during a client meeting instead of having an adult conversation face-to-face. Her mouth opened slightly. She'd clearly expected panic, apologies, maybe flowers and promises. Not this. So what? She said. You're just going to flip this around on me? I'm not flipping anything. You opened the door to evaluation. I'm simply walking through it from both directions. She stared at me for a long moment. You're acting different. You gave me 8 days to consider keeping you around. I'm considering. I stood up and headed toward the kitchen. What's for dinner? Or is cooking still on my list of inadequacies? I ordered Thai food, she said quietly. Perfect. I grabbed a beer from the fridge. Day 1 evaluation. Wife orders takeout, while complaining husband doesn't contribute enough to household management. I could feel her watching me from the doorway as I opened the container of pad thai from Thai Jasmine. The silence stretched between us, different from our usual silences. Not tense exactly, but uncertain. She was used to me asking about her day, checking her mood, adjusting my behavior accordingly. Tonight, I was just eating dinner. After I finished, I told her I was calling my sister Kelly tomorrow. Christine's face went pale. You haven't talked to her in over a year, she said. I know. That's going to change. She's so dramatic. Every conversation with her is exhausting. Day 1 observation, I said, putting my plate in the dishwasher. Everything I enjoy is somehow noise to you. My running is obsessive. My sister is dramatic. My friends are a bad influence. Interesting pattern. I left her standing in the kitchen and went to the garage. My workspace. Or what used to be my workspace before it became just a place to store things Christine didn't want in the house. My guitar was there, covered in dust, shoved into a corner behind boxes. I pulled it out, wiped it down, spent an hour tuning it, and playing quietly. The strings felt strange under my fingers after so long, but the muscle memory was still there. Christine appeared in the doorway eventually. You know I can't stand that noise. I kept playing. Everything I enjoy is somehow noise to you. She left. I kept playing until my fingers hurt. Then I went upstairs. She was already in bed, awake, clearly waiting to talk more. Or maybe waiting for me to apologize, to fold, to return to the version of myself she was used to managing. I brushed my teeth, changed into the workout clothes I'd bought, set my alarm for 5:45 a.m. First run in 18 months would be tomorrow morning. Christine tried one more tactic. Rolled toward me, hand on my chest. Her intimacy voice. Come here. I'm tired, I said. And it's on your list that I don't romance you enough. Wouldn't want to be predictable. The shock on her face was almost worth the last 3 years of walking on eggshells. Day 2 started at 5:45 a.m. when my alarm went off. Christine hated mornings, so she groaned and pulled a pillow over her head as I got up. I put on my new running gear and headed out into the pre-dawn Dallas humidity. The first mile was brutal. I'd gained 20 pounds since I stopped running, all of it from stress eating and sitting around managing Christine's moods instead of managing my health. But I pushed through, made it to White Rock Lake, and ran the trail as the sun came up over the water. 5 miles total. I felt like I was dying, but I finished. When I got back to the house, Christine was awake and furious. You woke me up, she said, standing in the kitchen in her robe. You said I'd let myself go? I'm fixing it. I didn't mean you should obsess over exercise again. I poured myself water, caught my breath. Day 2 observation. You want me to change, but only in ways you approve of. That's not change, that's obedience. She had no response to that. I showered, made myself a proper breakfast for the first time in months. Eggs, avocado toast, protein. Didn't ask what she wanted. Just made what I needed. Sudden health kick, she commented, watching me cook. I shrugged. You gave me 8 days. Making them count. At work, Patricia called me into her office. I don't know what's gotten into you, Garrett, but yesterday's presentation was outstanding. The client specifically asked to work with you on future projects. Thank you. I've been disappointed in your work lately, she continued. You've been passive, second-guessing yourself. But yesterday, that was the architect I know you can be. There was a pause. Then she said, we have a project in Manhattan. Big commercial development. I was going to give it to someone else, but I'd like you to take it. It would mean flying out tomorrow, back Saturday afternoon. The old me would have checked with Christine first. Would have worried about how she'd react to me traveling. Would have probably declined to avoid the conflict. I'll take it, I said. When's the flight? Patricia smiled. Tomorrow morning. I'll have details sent over. At lunch, I texted my old friend Blake Kendrick. We'd gone to architecture school together at UT Austin, and he'd been my best friend before Christine systematically scheduled conflicts every time we tried to hang out. I hadn't seen him in over a year. "Hey man, you free for lunch?" He responded immediately. "Where have you been? We thought you'd been abducted." Pecan Lodge in 30. Pecan Lodge was our spot back in the day. Best barbecue in Deep Ellum. I hadn't been there since Christine told me she didn't like the neighborhood. "See you there," I texted back. I texted Christine next. "Flying to Manhattan tomorrow for project. Back Friday." Her response was immediate. "You didn't ask if I had plans this week." I typed back, "You're right. I didn't." Blake was already at Pecan Lodge when I arrived, sitting at one of the picnic tables outside. He stood up when he saw me, pulled me into a hug that lasted a few seconds longer than usual. "Man," he said, "it's good to see you." We ordered brisket and sat in the May sunshine, and for the first time in years, I felt like myself. Blake didn't waste time. "What happened? You just disappeared." I told him about the text message, about the 8-day ultimatum, about my response. He laughed so hard he nearly choked on his brisket. "About damn time," he said. "We've all been worried about you, man. You just changed after you married her." "What do you mean?" He looked uncomfortable. "Forget I said anything." "No. Seriously. What did you mean?" Blake sighed. "Look, we all noticed how different you became. Every time we'd invite you out, you'd have to check with Christine first, and she'd always find some reason why you couldn't make it." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "What else? You sure you want to know? Tell me." "Your birthday 2 years ago," he said. "We wanted to take you out for drinks. Christine suddenly had a migraine and needed you home. Last summer when we planned that fishing trip, she scheduled a family barbecue the same weekend without telling you first. It's been like that for years, man. We figured you'd either wise up or you were okay with it." I sat there processing. All those times I'd thought it was just bad luck, bad timing. It had been orchestrated. "There's more," Blake said quietly. "Tell me." "Christine talks about you to her friends. My wife knows someone who works with her at Neiman Marcus. Diane Cooper. She's mentioned things Christine has said at work." "What kind of things?" Blake rubbed his face. "About how you're boring. About your personal life together. About how she could do better but feels obligated." The barbecue tasted like ash in my mouth. While I'd been walking on eggshells trying to keep her happy, she'd been publicly humiliating me to anyone who would listen. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" I asked. "What were we supposed to say? Hey, your wife's trashing you behind your back? We figured you knew and were okay with it. Or you'd figure it out on your own eventually." I paid for lunch and drove back to work. My mind racing. Everything made sense now. The constant criticism, the undermining, the way she'd isolated me from friends and activities. She hadn't been trying to improve our marriage. She'd been systematically breaking down my confidence so I wouldn't leave. That evening, I came home to find her in an unusually good mood. Like the ultimatum had never happened. "How was your day?" she asked brightly. "Enlightening," I said. "How was yours?" "Good. I had lunch with the girls from work. We were talking about planning a weekend trip." "The girls from the salon?" I asked casually. Her smile flickered. "Among others." "Why?" "Just curious about what topics came up. You seem to have a lot to discuss with them lately." She shifted uncomfortably. "Just normal stuff. Work, life, you know." "Right," I said slowly. "Normal stuff." I went straight upstairs to pack for Manhattan, leaving her in the entryway. When I came back down, she was setting out Chinese takeout. "I got your favorite," she said. "My favorite," I repeated. "Or what you think should be my favorite." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just making sure we're clear on preferences." We ate in silence. Finally, she couldn't contain her curiosity anymore. "You seem different tonight. More distant." "I'm processing some feedback I received today." "What kind of feedback?" "The kind that makes you realize you've been living in a carefully constructed version of reality." She set down her chopsticks. "I don't understand." I looked at her directly. "Do you remember Diane Cooper from your work?" Her face went pale. "What about her?" "Interesting woman. Apparently, she has excellent hearing. Especially during conversations in the break room about how boring your husband is." The silence stretched between us. She knew exactly what I was talking about. "I don't know what you think you heard," she started. "I didn't hear anything." Blake's wife heard quite a bit. From Diane. About my supposed inadequacies. About my bedroom performance. About how you're not sure why you married me. Christine opened her mouth, then closed it. You were venting, I said. To strangers. About intimate details of our marriage. They're not strangers. They're my coworkers. Your coworkers who don't know me. Who now think I'm some inadequate husband based on your very public complaints. I was frustrated. I needed to talk to someone. You could have talked to me. Instead, you decided to humiliate me in public while playing the long-suffering wife at home. She stood up abruptly. It wasn't like that. What was it like then? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been running a campaign to destroy my reputation while simultaneously demanding I work harder to keep you happy. I wasn't trying to hurt you. Day 2 conclusion, I said, standing up. I've been married to someone who sees me as entertainment for her friends rather than a partner worth respecting. I started clearing the table. She followed me to the kitchen. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't realize how it would sound. You didn't realize that telling people your husband is boring and inadequate might sound bad? Your judgment is worse than I thought. I finished loading the dishwasher and turned to face her. 6 more days left in your evaluation period. Maybe use them to figure out why any man would want to stay married to someone who treats him like material for gossip sessions. I went upstairs, leaving her standing in the kitchen. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was upset, but because I was planning. Tomorrow I'd be in Manhattan. 2 days away from this house, this situation. 2 days to think clearly without her trying to manipulate me back into line. My alarm went off at 4:30 a.m. My flight was at 7. I'd packed the night before, so I just grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Christine appeared at the top of the stairs in her robe. Do you really have to go? She asked. Yes. What if I need you? For what? An emergency? Call 911. For emotional support? You have friends. For validation? That's not my job anymore. That's cruel. That's honest. There's a difference. I drove to DFW International Airport in the pre-dawn darkness. As I boarded the plane to LaGuardia, I felt lighter than I had in years. First time traveling alone since we got married. Christine always found reasons to come along or make me cancel. But this time, I hadn't asked permission. I'd just gone. The flight gave me time to think, to really process everything. The ultimatum, the public humiliation, the systematic isolation from everyone who cared about me. By the time we landed in Manhattan, I'd started making a list of my own. Everything I'd given up. Everything she'd demanded. Everything I'd sacrificed to keep her happy. The list was long. I checked into the Blakely on West 55th Street and headed straight to the client meeting in the financial district. The presentation went even better than Dallas. I wasn't holding back, wasn't second-guessing every design choice. I was the architect I used to be before Christine convinced me that confidence was arrogance. The client loved it. This is exactly what we wanted. Fresh perspective, innovative solutions. We want to work with you specifically. They offered me a direct consulting contract. Not with Henderson and Associates. With me, Garrett Sullivan, architect. This was the kind of opportunity Christine always said I'd never get because I wasn't ambitious enough. I accepted on the spot. Christine's text started around 2 p.m. Dallas time, 3 p.m. in Manhattan. 5 calls in 2 hours. I responded once. In meetings. We'll call tonight. She texted back. You're avoiding me. I didn't respond. That evening, I had dinner alone at Smith and Walensky on 3rd Avenue. Ordered a steak. Read a book I'd been meaning to finish for months. Enjoyed the meal. Enjoyed the anonymity of being in a city where no one knew me, where I didn't have to manage anyone's expectations or emotions. My phone rang at 9 p.m. Blake. Hey man, I answered. What's up? I need to tell you something, he said. His voice was serious. Diane Cooper called my wife tonight. The woman from Christine's work? Yeah. She felt bad keeping this from you. Apparently Christine has been talking about you at work for a while now. More than what I mentioned at lunch. How much more? Blake sighed. A lot more. Details about your intimate life. Calling you unmotivated and settling. Saying she could do better but feels obligated to stay. Multiple people have heard it. Diane finally spoke up because she thought someone needed to tell you. I stood at my hotel window, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. All those lights. All those lives. And here I was, discovering that mine had been a performance for years. Thanks for telling me, I said quietly. I'm sorry, man. We should have said something sooner. I needed to figure it out myself. This just confirms everything. After we hung up, I walked. Just walked through Manhattan for hours. Ended up on the Brooklyn Bridge, looking back at the city lights reflecting on the water. And standing there, I felt absolutely clear about what I needed to do. I texted Christine, "We need to talk when I get back. About your conversations at work." Her response was immediate. "What are you talking about?" "Diane Cooper. We'll discuss Saturday." No response. Day 4 was Friday, my last full day in Manhattan. I wrapped up the consulting contract, had breakfast with an old colleague from architecture school who now worked in the city. He told me I seemed different. Good different. "You look like yourself again," he said. The flight back to Dallas that afternoon felt like returning to something I needed to end. I landed at 6, drove home, arrived just after 7. Christine had staged a scene. Candles. Wine. The dress she knew I liked. "Welcome home," she said. "I missed you." "Did you?" The smile flickered. "Of course. I made reservations at Fearing's." "Cancel them." "What? Why?" "We're going to talk about what you've been saying about me at work." Her face went pale. "How long have you been telling your coworkers I'm boring in bed?" I asked, remaining standing. "I don't know what." "Don't." Diane Cooper told her husband. Her husband knows Blake's wife. "Blake called me in New York." "How long, Christine?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I was just venting. To strangers. About our intimate life. About my supposed inadequacies. About how you could do better." "They're not strangers. They're my coworkers. They're not me. The person you should have been talking to if you had problems." She tried tears. Real tears this time, or a good imitation. I was frustrated. I needed to talk to someone. "You humiliated me. Publicly. While privately demanding I work harder to please you." I sat down across from her. "Do you understand what that is? That's not frustration. That's betrayal." "It wasn't like that." "What was it like then? Explain to me how discussing your husband's bedroom performance with people who don't know him is anything other than humiliation." She had no answer. "Day 5 observation," I said quietly. "Respect isn't something you can demand while refusing to give it. You've been running a campaign to make me look inadequate while simultaneously complaining I'm not trying hard enough. That's not a marriage. That's abuse." "That's not fair," she said. "I never abused you. Emotional manipulation is abuse. Public humiliation is abuse. Isolation from friends and family is abuse. Constant criticism while providing no support is abuse. Just because you didn't hit me doesn't mean you didn't hurt me." The silence was absolute. "3 days left in your evaluation period," I said, standing. "But I've already reached my conclusion." "What does that mean?" "It means you asked me to prove I'm worth keeping. I've spent 5 days proving to myself that I am. The question is whether you're worth me staying for. And right now, the answer is no." I went upstairs and packed a bag. She appeared in the doorway. "Where are you going?" "Blake's place. I need space to think." "You can't just leave. Watch me. You gave me 8 days. I'm using them to figure out what I actually want. And right now, I want to be anywhere but here." I drove to Blake's house in North Dallas. He and his wife Jennifer were waiting. They'd made up the guest room without me even asking. "Stay as long as you need," Jennifer said. "We've been worried about you for years." I slept better that night than I had in months. Day 6 was Sunday. I woke up in Blake's guest room, had coffee with him and Jennifer, and felt the weight of the last few years pressing down on me. Blake made breakfast while Jennifer read the paper. Normal domestic life. No walking on eggshells. No managing moods. Just people who liked each other, living together. Christine's text started at 7 a.m. "Please come home. We need to talk." 8:30. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please let me apologize in person." 10 o'clock. "I'll do whatever it takes. Please just come home." 11:45. "I wrote down everything I want to change. I'll show you." I responded at noon. "I'll be home at 2. We can talk then." I went for a run first. The full loop around White Rock Lake. 9 miles. My legs were getting stronger. I felt stronger. Came back to Blake's, showered, mentally prepared myself for what was coming. I arrived at the house at exactly 2 p.m. Christine had been busy. 3-page handwritten letter on the coffee table. Photo albums from our early relationship spread out. Lunch from Kenny's Wood-Fired Grill, my favorite place. She handed me the letter before I'd even sat down. I stayed up all night writing this. Everything I did wrong. Everything I'll change. I read the first page. It was detailed, specific. Promises about communication, about respect, about supporting me instead of criticizing. "This is impressive," I said. I mean every word. Do you? Or is this another performance? She flinched. I set down the letter. 5 days ago, you gave me a list of my failures. Today you're giving me a list of yours. Do you see the pattern? I'm trying to fix things. You're trying to control things. Fix would require you to have acknowledged these problems before I found out about your office gossip. Before I stopped performing for you. Before you realized the ultimatum backfired. I sat down, but didn't touch the food she'd ordered. Day 6 observation. Apologies that only come after being caught aren't apologies. They're damage control. That's not fair. I'm genuinely sorry. For what? Specifically? For talking about you at work. For the ultimatum. For not appreciating you. But you're not sorry for the years before that. The isolation. The criticism. The control. You're sorry you got caught, and that your tactics stopped working. Her hands were shaking. I do love you. You love the version of me that absorbed your criticism without complaint. The version that managed your moods and gave up everything that made him happy. That's not love, Christine. That's ownership. The photo album sat between us, full of pictures of people I barely recognized. Young, happy, before the slow erosion of self that happens when you spend years trying to be someone you're not. What do you want me to do? She asked quietly. I want you to understand why I can't stay married to someone who publicly humiliates me while privately demanding perfection. I want you to grasp that respect is the foundation of marriage and you destroyed it. But mostly, I want you to know that I finally remember what I'm worth. And it's more than this. She started crying. Real tears now. Please don't do this. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. Counseling might help you understand why you treat people this way. But it won't change that you did. It won't change that you saw nothing wrong with it until I stopped accepting it. You're giving up on us. I stood. You gave up on us years ago. I just finally noticed. Where are you going? Back to Blake's. I'll sleep on it tonight. Final decision tomorrow. Tomorrow? But we have 2 days left. I don't need them. Day 7 is for you to think about what you actually want. Someone to control or someone to love. Because you can't have both. Day 8 is for me to make my final decision. I paused at the door. But you should know, I've already made it. Monday was day 7. I woke up at Blake's to Jennifer making coffee. How are you holding up? She asked. Better than I have in years. Blake came down, and we sat around their kitchen table like normal people, talking about work, about life, about nothing important. It felt revolutionary. At 9 a.m., my phone rang. My mother. Garrett, honey, Christine called me. She says you're leaving her? I explained the situation. The ultimatum. The public humiliation. Everything. My mother was quiet for a long moment. Then, I always wondered why you stopped calling as much. Now I know. You do what you need to do, honey. You deserve better. An hour later, Kelly called from Baltimore. Christine had tried her too. Is she serious right now? Kelly said. She tried to get me to talk sense into you. I told her she's lucky you stayed this long. We talked for over an hour. Laughed together. Made plans for her to visit Dallas next month. It felt like finding a piece of myself I'd forgotten existed. At 2 p.m., Christine showed up at Blake's house. Blake answered the door. Christine, he said he needs space. I need to see my husband. I came to the door. What part of I need space was unclear. You can't just throw away 8 years. I'm not throwing them away. I'm recognizing they were built on me sacrificing who I am so you could feel in control. Let me show you I can change. You've had 8 years to change. You only want to now because you're losing. Blake appeared behind me. Christine, you need to go. She looked at him, then back at me. This is between me and my husband. He's staying here. He's asked for space. You need to respect that. You're letting your friends turn you against me, she said to me. My friends are the ones who stayed when you tried to push them away. They're the ones who noticed when I disappeared. They're the ones who told me the truth about what you were saying at work. They didn't turn me against you. You did that yourself. She left crying. I watched her drive away and felt nothing but relief. That afternoon, I drove to White Rock Lake and walked the trails alone, processing 8 years of marriage, thinking about who I was before, who I became, who I wanted to be. The thing was, I didn't miss her. I missed the idea of her, the person I thought she was. But that person had never actually existed. She'd shown me who she really was from the start. I'd just been too in love to see it. I called a divorce attorney that evening, friend of Blake's, set up a consultation for Tuesday morning. I looked at apartments online, found a nice place in Uptown, near the office. Modern, clean mine. Called Patricia Henderson. I need some time off next week. Take what you need. That Manhattan project is yours whenever you're ready. At 8 p.m., I texted Christine. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., I'll come to the house for final conversation. Please be ready to listen. Her response was immediate. I'll be here. I'll fix this. I promise. I typed back. Tomorrow isn't about fixing. It's about ending well. She didn't respond. I couldn't sleep Monday night. Not because I was uncertain, because I was rehearsing how to say it with dignity. She didn't deserve cruelty, just clarity. Tuesday morning, day 8. I drove to the house at 9:45, knocked on my own front door. Christine opened it looking exhausted but put together. Her final performance. We sat in the living room. She'd set up one more scene. Wedding photos on the mantle. My old guitar sitting prominently. Coffee brewing. I know what I did was wrong. She started immediately. I know I hurt you. I know I took you for granted. But 8 years has to mean something. We can rebuild. I can be the wife you deserve. Please, just give me a real chance. I listened. Let her finish. Then I spoke. You've had chances. Hundreds of them. Every time I swallowed criticism. Every time I canceled plans with friends because you had a headache. Every time I changed who I was to make you comfortable. Those were all chances. I'll prove it. Give me a month. 3 months. A year. However long you need. Time won't change the fundamental problem. What problem? You don't respect me. You might want to. You might wish you did. But you don't. And I've finally realized I can't make you respect me. I can only decide whether I'll stay with someone who doesn't. I do respect you. I shook my head. People who respect their partners don't humiliate them publicly. Don't isolate them from loved ones. Don't treat them like employees under review. Don't send ultimatums via text during work meetings. Everything you've done tells me you see me as someone to manage, not someone to love. The silence was heavy. So that's it, she whispered. 8 years and you're just done? You gave me 8 days to decide if I was worth keeping. I spent them deciding if this marriage is worth staying in. My answer is no. Tears started. Please. I need you to hear this. You're not a bad person, but you're not good for me. And I'm not good for you. Not the version of me that you need. You need someone who'll accept being controlled. I need someone who wants an equal partner. We're fundamentally incompatible. We can learn. We can grow. I've done all the growing I can do in this marriage. Any more, and I'll disappear completely. I won't do that to myself. I stood. I've contacted an attorney. Divorce papers will be filed this week. I'm not trying to hurt you with this. I'm trying to be honest with both of us. We're done. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. She tried one more time. What if I had never sent that text? What if we could go back? Then we'd still be here eventually. The text just made me see what was already true. You gave me 8 days to prove my worth. What you didn't realize is that I already knew it. I just needed permission to remember. I walked to the door. Stopped. Looked back at her one last time. I hope you find someone who makes you happy. But more than that, I hope you figure out why you need to control people you claim to love. For your sake. She said nothing. I left. I drove straight to the apartment complex in Uptown. The house on Buena Vista. Signed the lease. Called movers for Wednesday. Then I called Kelly. I did it, I said. How do you feel? Free. 4 months later, I ran into her at Whole Foods in Preston Royal Village. Late September, after work. I was shopping for poker night at my apartment. Christine looked smaller somehow. Tired. She saw me and hesitated before approaching. Hi, she said. Hi. You look good. Thanks. I feel good. I heard about your promotion. Congratulations. Appreciate it. She held organic apples, examining them. I've been in therapy. My therapist says I have control issues. That's good. I'm glad you're working on it. She looked at my cart. Wine, steaks, vegetables. Having people over? Yeah. Poker night. Blake and the guys. That sounds nice. A pause. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. You were right about everything. Thank you for saying that. Do you think we could ever? No. I said it gently but firmly. I'm glad you're working on yourself. Truly. But that doesn't change what happened. Some relationships aren't meant to last. Ours was one of them. She nodded, tears in her eyes. You really are doing better without me. I'm doing better as myself. That's not about you. It's about me remembering who I was. The text. The 8 days. I thought I could control the outcome. You gave me permission to choose myself. The ultimatum freed me. So thank you for that. She almost smiled. I didn't think it would end like this. Neither did I. But here we are. Take care of yourself, Garrett. You too, Christine. She walked away. I felt nothing painful. Just closure. I drove back to my apartment in Uptown. My place. Guitar in the corner. Running medals on the wall. Design sketches on my drafting table. The apartment filled up at 7. Blake and 5 guys from architecture school. We played poker, drank beer, talked about everything and nothing. Around midnight, I stood on my balcony looking at the Dallas skyline. The same view from that conference room window where everything changed. My phone buzzed. Kelly, with a photo of her plane ticket. Visiting in 2 weeks. I was running Chicago Marathon in 3 weeks. The Manhattan Project was going well. I'd won honorable mention in the AIA Dallas competition. Small victories, but they were mine. 8 days to decide if she'd keep me. Turned out I needed 8 days to decide to keep myself. Best deadline I ever had. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.